I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. We are changing the world one woman at a time. We're changing families, neighborhoods, and communities one woman at a time. Because I believe that this is the time of women emerging. And I get the honor to introduce you to incredible women making a difference on this planet. So my guest today is Leizel Lane. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She has an MA in industrial psychology. She's an associate certified coach, a certified youth leadership and mentoring coach. And as a performer, entrepreneur, and executive for 30 years, she has mobilized initiatives that have maximized the potential of individuals and their environments. Among her achievements, she was awarded Woman of Excellence for Community Outreach in 2017 and Best Small Business in the Dance category for 2019 and 2020. Her nonprofit organization, Atlanta Seeds, Self-Esteem, Empowerment, and Education Through Dance, specializes in providing girls and women the opportunity to build self-esteem through dance, and now spends most of her time helping Gen Z youth as a life, career, and academic coach. At myteenlifecoach.com, Leizel is blessed with a modern blended family of 5 children and a fantastic husband. So, Leizel, welcome.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thanks for having me.
I'm so grateful that you're here. So, I always like to talk about where people came from because, what's interesting to me is that people sort of think that people just emerged into brilliance and greatness, that they never went through anything. So tell us a little bit about your background. And I know you were, an incredible ballerina. So where did you come from?
Yeah, yeah. I know it's funny how the life goes through ebbs and flows. You start someplace, you end up in another, and you think, oh my goodness, how did I get there? But really, my life started as a 3-year-old little girl, and my mom actually used dancing as a way to save me from being exposed to things that, were not good for me. If you were to think about the typical sad story of little girl grows up in traumatized home, I was sexually abused, only discovered that later, but had just a ton of trauma in my life that I was completely unaware of. And, growing up, you just kind of get used to what your norms are. So ballet and dancing became everything to me. It was where my identity was centered around. So, mom was a destitute single mom. She was abused. We were abused as kids. As a way to cope, we ended up in a state boarding school to kind of keep us away from those things. And because I didn't have a stable family life and I was moving around so much, dancing really became that for me. And during that period of time, I was, unbeknownst to me, and I guess my family, was that became the place where I got to express myself, find myself, and learn what that was for me growing up. And that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. And you were also in South Africa.
Yes.
And so it's interesting to me where you come from and that you build this whole organization that's supporting girls from diversity when diversity wasn't, so loved in South Africa.
Yeah, I was very fortunate that I was allowed to go to a boarding school in my high school years where I was it was the only boarding school, girls' school that accepted diversity. And so my parents supported and were never bought into the apartheid era, even though they grew up in that, and I'm sure they were socialized that way. But I was the first generation on the cusp of apartheid turning into democracy. And so Nelson Mandela was really me for me and my brothers. He was our role model, and when I entered the workforce as a graduate, of course, with apartheid, I got deported from England for political reasons when I was on my way to be trained as a prima ballerina. And because of the political climate, I was checked out, and so that was actually what led me to say, okay, well, I guess I've got to go to university, and this is what how one of my paths changed. But because of that, I was on the forefront of the new democracy in South Africa, and so my actual job career then just was amazing because I got to work with diversity. I got to work with cultural and racial conflict and the healing process that took place, the unprecedented healing process that took place in South Africa at that time. And I got to do that in the workplace. So, having spoken and learned 4 languages, I could be a facilitator and a mediator between cultures and languages and their spiritual practices and just everything, because we had all kinds of our whole medical HR medical program was centered around 11 different spiritualities. So you had to learn how to facilitate around that, and that's where my strength for that grew.
Well, that's awesome. So I want to know how you get from being, this high paid corporate woman
Yeah.
to going into the community and creating a safe place for young girls to express through dance and also honor their education. What was the bridge?
Yeah. So I spent 12 years in corporate, no, 15 plus. I don't know, you lose track after a while. But during that time, I was by far the minority. I was again objectified in the workplace. My work was meaningless, and was just falling into a black hole. And I got severely burned out working with majority executive white men, and 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 then I was running my artistic career in parallel. So I felt like I was living 2 separate lives. And I'd been through a divorce, and I was a single mom of 3 children, and I just felt like I was on the cusp of reinventing who I really needed to be for them. And so after I married for the second time and I met my amazing husband who is with me still today, I just decided to take a sabbatical and just take time out and really think about how do I marry my artistic expression, all my business knowledge together, but do it for something that is actually worthy. And started to do some research into my childhood. My mom and I started having conversations about the trauma that I had gone through and how I didn't want my kids or other kids to have to ever experience that. And so I think through a period of 6 months, we kind of just went through this process, and my husband was just incredible in supporting me in that journey. And we laid out my 401k and said, here we go, we're gonna do this. And that's how the Atlanta Seeds program was born.
Well, it's incredible. And I had the opportunity and the honor to be in that building with those young kids because they're like what, like 5 to 18 or something like that.
That's right. Yes, my first group are just graduating, going to high school now. So it's amazing to see how far they've come.
Well, I loved sitting with them and seeing how engaged they were and watching them dance and seeing how inquisitive they were. I mean, it was awesome. So I want to say to you, because I want to talk a little bit more about this, but I really want to talk about also, you mentioned the abuse from your childhood. And so what process did you do or to get you to a place of healing that so that you could be in your full expression?
OMG. Uh, that was the hardest work I have ever done in my whole life. So, Miss Cynthia, you were the one who helped me start that process. Um, and I got to tell you, I'm always talking about it to people because I didn't know what I didn't know. And when I started the ALL program with you, I suddenly started to wake up in parts of my body. And I will never forget the day you said to me, I came to you and I said, there's something wrong. My stomach hurts. I'm in pain. And you said to me, Leizel, it's okay. You're birthing. And that was when it started, when I suddenly started to realize that my trauma was beginning to work its way out of my body. And I get emotional still thinking about that, because if it wasn't for you helping me start to become aware and have this safe space and the network of women, and to kind of bolster my courage to walk through that fire and actually like face it head on. I don't know. I wouldn't have my new business now today. I would still be living like one of those teenagers that I work with, and I would be living alongside them, not living forward for them to follow me. So that was really pivotal for me.
Well, and I just want to acknowledge you for the work and being willing, because some people have a revelation and they're like, oh no, too scary, not doing, I'm sorry, I'm not going there, right? But
Yes.
I want to talk about, because because you have been in awe, I've gotten to witness your evolution for 3 years. Wow. So I want to talk about the 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 passion and the love for working with the girls,
Mm,
and how that birthed into your new career of being a coach for teens. I mean, which is exciting.
yeah. I was so excited about it. I think I've also, through the 3 years of awe, I've also grown up, and I've had to reinvent myself as an artist. So yes, I'm still a dancer, but I can't be a dancer in the way that I was anymore. It's not healthy for me, and so I'm beginning to re-express that. But in learning to re-express that, I found that my intellect, my love for the intellect, started to come back again. And so during COVID, I thought, well, you know what? I may as well start to look into this. What does my next chapter look like? And I came across the Youth Coaching Institute and decided to take advantage of the COVID lockdown period and just went for it. And so this has stepped up my game in terms of being the go between and putting the magnifying glass on the things that people don't see, what teenagers are going through. And that dancing is not always going to be the answer for helping them make these transitions. So I wanted my platform to be bigger and broader and wider and more expansive, and be able to then maybe partner with different organizations that could be using different things, um, whether it be book clubs or, whatever that is. And so for me, that is allowing me to step up into what that next phase is. And of course, working with the girls and having three teens myself, it's the right place and it's the right time.
Well, what I love about it is that, yes, and that you were asking the universe, what is my next iteration?
Yeah.
But you also mentored some of the people that were your team to become the leaders and to take over Atlanta Seeds. And so that is thrilling to me.
Yes, I'm glad that I get to watch them and me practice alongside. One of the major things that I'm dealing with teens right now is that they are prescribed as prescribed generation. They are taught to the test. They are programmed to the hilt. they YouTube tells them what and how to be, social media tells them what and how to be, and there are very little spaces available anymore for free learning and expression and making mistakes and things like that. So now I get to practice what I preach through working with these my millennial team, and saying, okay, here's your box, here's your space, here's all the coaching and the succession planning that I did with them, but allowing them to make the mistakes that they need to go through that scary place where most of us are too afraid to go, and
Absolutely.
certainly the teenagers of today.
Yeah. So I that's a perfect segue into me asking, what do you think
Yeah.
is the biggest challenge for women today in terms
Mm.
of standing in their power?
My instinct, and I'm working with moms, I'm working with teachers, I'm working with community leaders. They're afraid. They're afraid to rock the boat. And I feel like for so long, we've been in this paradigm of how we have to function as women in society or as women leaders in society, and that we've been boxed in. And we, these women, other women that I'm working with, they see it. They see that the paradigm needs to shift, but they don't know how. They don't know how to do it, um, but they're trying and they're courageous. And so it's kind of like, what are the ways that I can present and have the skills to now help the next generation to create their own future in their way, not our way, not the way of the ancestral past, but in their language, their identity, their exploration, without shoving it onto them. And I think that's where women are challenged, and they run away from it because they run to what is comfortable and what is known. And I would love to see more support for women, to give them the support like I had to, to have the courage to kind of walk through that fire of the unknown in order to prepare it for the next generation.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
my kids say, Mom, you're not going to be here forever. We're going
Mhm.
to be the ones stuck here. So, what's going to be left for us? What are you guys doing to prepare?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a massive question for, the legacy that we leave the next generations. And I think that that's the big conversation that's happening on the planet, because what kind of legacy are we leaving them, right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, before I ask you our final question, how do people find you and the amazing work that you're doing?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. So I think the best way right now is through myteenlifecoach.com. So I was really fortunate to find a URL that literally was www at myteenlifecoach.com. So it's also the business name. And I'm also in the International Coach Federation's directories and the Youth Coach Institute's directories, and on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So, and I'm prepared to work with women and, community leaders as well as the kids, even though, the kids are always my first love, but you've got to have that bridge. So, yeah.
That love it. So the last question that I ask every guest is, what do you want to tell women about awakening?
What I want to tell women about awakening is that it is the best gift that you can give yourself, and that it is the best gift you can give to your family, to your community, to the people who look up to you and who are your role models. And it can't be a gift if it wasn't thought through, if it wasn't um, like a conscious thing, a choice, um, and and it's life changing. It is life changing. My biggest passion is that I am a source to help 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old girls awaken now, not 45 years old like I was when I had to choose my awakening. I want these women to awaken so much sooner. And if you have the opportunity, you you need to go for
Love it.
it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Liesl, thank you so much for who you are, what you're doing on the planet, and for your willingness to listen to your inner guidance on your next steps. I'm sure that all the people that you will serve will be extraordinarily blessed.
And always with you, Miss Cynthia. Thank you so much for having me today.
So, ladies, thank you so much for being here. I mean, Liesl is just an example of the extraordinary women that I get to interview. Come back week after week. We post every week, um, and please take their guidance and their gifts that they have shared with you. I want you to know you're amazing. I want you to know that you're a unique imprint on this planet. There's no one else like you, no one here to do what you came here to do, and that people are waiting for you. And it doesn't matter if it's a small stage or a large stage. The people that need you are waiting for you to stand in your extraordinary gifts. I'm so grateful for you. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on the next one.